All right, Naisha, going live on video. Stand by for audio. All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today, I am bringing on, yes, once again, another new co-host for you guys. I'm sorry, I just keep finding these amazing people, and they actually say yes and come on the show. So this young lady is the visionary and CEO, as well as best-selling author, lecturer, and the primary consultant of Optimal Terrain. That's a trademark term, people, so we're going to get into that. I'd say she's pretty much informed by more than 25 years of experience in the healthcare industry. You guys know how much we love to talk about health, and a thought leader in personalized precision medicine. And she works to educate clients, doctors, and researchers who we've had on this show worldwide on how to apply integrative oncology philosophically and therapeutically. That's right. We're getting really fancy today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Dr. Naisha Winters.
Woo! Thank you. It's great to be here with you. You're a lot of fun already. So,
well, it helps. I have a fresh French press in my mug. So, gets a little extra fired up. So are you a coffee person?
I am definitely a coffee person. I think I've had 3 good mugs of it this morning. As I was
you are ahead. I'm only on number 2.
And you're later than we are. What's up with that?
Well, as we were joking around, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to date the show a little bit because this takes like 2-3 weeks to go out. So last night was St. Patrick's Day. And from a healthy standpoint, she's like, oh, well, how are you recovering? And I was like, the funny thing is, because my name is Scott William Mulvaney, or if you're in Ireland, it's pronounced Mulvaney. And I did not go out and party. I didn't go hit the St. Patrick's Day parades. Actually, I didn't even tell you before we started recording this show. Actually, right before my friends came over I made them dinner and got them introduced to my fiance. I decided to go play with my chainsaw. And because this is what I do in my free time, because there was a massive storm here while I was vacationing in Colorado, which you and I were talking about. So apparently all these high winds blew down trees, and my fiance's parents' house is unoccupied right now because they're in their house in Colorado. So I decided to go over there and start cutting up the downed tree. So it was really, really fun. I love playing with my chainsaw. So fun side note. Long story short, I was like, well, I don't need to go to St. Patrick's Day parade because I was being productive cutting up trees. And I'm going to come home and be more productive and make everybody a fresh, clean, healthy dinner. So, which I'm sure we'll get into as far as how important it is to your actual healthcare. And then also we sipped scotch. My fiance did get a little drunk last night because these guys were hanging for a while, and they are literally 2 of probably my oldest friends. So there was a lot of dirt getting thrown around.
And like I said, she still wants to marry you. This is a good.
I know, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think it actually makes me feel more energized today because it's like, oh God, that's finally off the to-do list, right?
Yeah. And she got vetted and they got vetted. So everyone's good now. You're all good.
It's like, okay, let's just drop the walls, let it all in, let it all out, and just see where it goes. So
beautiful. Well done. Well done.
So I don't know why I only had 2 cups of coffee. Maybe because I woke up so wide awake and happy. It's just a happy Sunday fun day. So
perfect.
So that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Naisha is joining you today and taking time out of her, busy Colorado lifestyle on a Sunday because we've had to reschedule this thing twice.
That's all right. We're good. Yeah.
So let's finally dig in, man. We were actually rapping for probably about a good, 5-10 minutes before we even recorded. And I'm like, this happens all the time. We should probably fire up the show.
Exactly.
So we're catching up on a healthy demographic, are we not?
Absolutely.
All right. So what do you normally talk about in most of these other podcasts you've been on? Because obviously my format's more open, so I'm very intrigued. Do you get more Q&A style podcasts?
I get everything, but Q&A seems to be the standard issue, right? And people always kind of have, really want to focus in on the book or focus in on my cancer story or other things. But to me, what I like about your style is showing people that being real is part of being, choosing day-to-day lifestyle sort of hacks, if you will, is actually just as much fun as going on a, St. Patty's Day bender. I mean, right. I have a really vital, happy, dynamic, fun, wild life. And I don't do what probably a lot of standard issue, American, Westerner do for fun. And it's just a different experience. So I have a feeling you're going to take on some of those paths today of our conversation.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, first of all, I love the keyword in your because I'm a marketing consultant, right? So I'm like, oh my God, when you registered and I got to see the brand, and I'm like, oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, you can check her out at optimalterrainconsulting.com. But the keyword there is optimal. But also, I love the fact you used terrain because obviously, I used to live in Colorado. I used to live in Arizona. Obviously, I used to be, one of the hotshot wildland firefighters out there with the federal government. So I know terrain. So I just love the words here. I'm like, dude, this is fun. I don't know if you picked terrain because of your Colorado lifestyle or just because the topic of cancer is crazy full of terrain.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things. Actually, the place where I first heard terrain was coined around like the whole concept of it's the microcosm, not the macrocosm. It's the microbe. It's not the illness. I mean, all of these things kind of come back from our predecessors in medicine. Beauchamp was the guy who was all about the terrain, but he was in cahoots with, our future antibiotic leaders of the world today. And everyone kind of turned their attention towards the organism being the problem versus what was bringing the organism into life being the problem. And so we've kind of made a full circle that people like me look more about what's happening in the rest of the body that invites in disease or invites disease to take root and grow wildly versus the actual disease itself. So that was one component, terrain versus, the microbe itself being the issue. The other is I'm an outdoor person. I believe that nature is the ultimate healer. I find that we are very nature deficient today. And I am married to a very big life adventurer who promised me when we started dating almost 27 years ago that life would always be an adventure. And there is always a topo map in one of our vehicles because my husband doesn't want to just like follow a regular paved road, right? It's like, let's get lost. And there's been many a time I thought they'd find our bones somewhere out in wild places. Right? So that concept of when I'm looking at a patient, I'm looking at their whole terrain to understand, what got them there and what can help bring them back into a place of optimal health.
I love that because, first of all, real quick on that side note, she already gave you a really powerful nugget, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening to this, is that get outside. I don't care if you have to hashtag it on your Instagram profile while you're hiking and doing a selfie. That's fine. Okay. Get outside. If that's what's going to help you, like, hey, you know what? I need an excuse to get some really fun pics on my Instagram and my Facebook feed or my story. Like I'm making fun of that, but actually, I do a lot of social media marketing, but I'm like, that's the point we're trying to talk about here, right? Is you could take selfies in your house or you can go on a beautiful hike, take an amazing selfie, and then stick that on your whatever social media platform you want to be on, right? So anyway, in the end, are you getting outside enough? Are you getting Mother Nature's fresh air? Are you getting the necessary sunlight? Are you hydrating? Like the other excuse of hiking gives you an excuse to drink water.
Exactly. It forces that habit. You are thirsty when you're out there hiking up some 14ers. That's just kind of part of the deal. But you're right. It's like that's the place where I too really enjoy looking at people's photos and selfies and Instagram images. And the ones that fire me up and inspire me the most are seeing people doing creative things like their work or their play or their education out in nature. It's like bringing the best of all worlds. And it's where we've come from. That is a natural part of our being. And the average American today spends less than 15 minutes a day outside. Is that horrific? That is the latest statistic.
Well, you know why? Hold on. You're wearing a blue pair of glasses today.
Oh, do I? Oh, yes. Well, normally I have.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you as a refresher to our newer listeners, we do actually stream this then over YouTube once the episode goes live. But I have a new pair of blue glasses.
What?
So do you know what these are?
Do they have blockers?
Can you see the color change? It's not just a weird neck movement.
Cool.
30% blockers.
What?
So
okay.
I just had Dr. Travis on my show. Oh, nice. Hold on. Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Wait. Are we going to go matchy-matchy?
Oh, we are going to go matchy.
Boom.
Oh, what?
So again, ladies and gentlemen, you can't see what we're doing right now, but I just took the blue frame, 30%. Oh, you get these different color frames. This is a different manufacturer.
I might have to know about that.
Are you rocking Swannies?
I'm rocking blue blockers. So
you got the actual brand blue blockers.
Blue blocks, and then I got my daytime.
Nice.
I know.
So
we'll keep these on.
What's the daytime percentage on yours? or
Oh
just?
gosh, I can't remember. I'm terrible. Like I like the data part, that part leaves my brain. I just know that they're the appropriate wavelengths for the daytime, screen time usage until
Yeah.
about sunset. And then I'll switch over to these babies. So
Yeah.
yeah.
See? So ladies and gentlemen, Nisha and I are both geeking out about the power of blue light. And there's the good blue light and there's the bad blue light. And here's the thing. If you're outside and enjoying the beautiful sun, that's the good blue light frequencies, right? Totally. So she's got plenty of them because she lives in that you're in that big Western Colorado area, the Durango surrounding regions. And it's gorgeous there. I've mountain biked there. I was joking around earlier. My friend's son, my friend works for New Belgium Brewery in Fort Collins.
Yeah. Oh,
so his son is like a world-class, for his age, mountain bike racer. So he got a partial scholarship to go to that college down there.
No way. Oh, that's fantastic. It's a huge biking community. So
it's massive. Like when I lived down there, I used to live in Golden. So every weekend, once I met him and I met that brewery, like I don't drink beer anymore, but back then I did because you have that connection. We drove almost every weekend I was up there because they have a great cycling foundation in Colorado called Cyclismo Youth Foundation. And long story short is their whole goal is to get kids on bikes, which in turn gets kids outside. So I figured you'd appreciate that.
I love that. And it's so important because, that's I have people who are eating perfect diets, but they're not going to bed at a normal time. They're completely being exposed to so much screen time. They're never outdoors. And that's the place is, yes, we live in these wonderful technologies that can connect us all over the world, but they have a price to pay for their toll on our health, our sleep, our mitochondrial function, our microbiome, our mental, emotional, and hormonal health. All of these things get beaten up by even just the light. I mean, I very much care about your diet, but if you're still exposing yourself to these other toxicants without some paying attention to that, you're not making it all the way.
I like the keyword there of toxicants. Could you dig into that a little bit? That's a fun word.
It's a fun word. Well, we used to kind of say,
throw that on my board. I just got them clean slate of my board for the Colorado vacation.
This is good. There you go. Well, now you had some of your toxicants last night with some scotch.
Yeah.
You did that.
Did I spell that right? Is it C or C-O?
With a T before the S at the end. Toxicants.
Oh, Kents. Okay. See, I didn't even hear that right. So, ladies and gentlemen, TOXICANTS. I will Google a definition and slap that into the show notes. But
right on. Well, when we talk about things, a lot of us say environmental toxins, but we're actually not being correct. The word is actually toxicants. So it's things that create toxicity in our body. Now we can do that through things like hormesis. Okay. So stressing ourselves with cold, showers, or even stressing ourselves with a little bit of scotch when we're not accustomed to drinking very much anymore.
Because let's be real, alcohol in any form is a toxicant.
You got it.
There we go. Okay.
It is. And so those are the moments there, but we are swimming in them today. We have to take so much more effort to think about what we're putting on in and around our bodies. And some people, I've said this on other podcasts, but I'm certain I have family and friends who believe that I wrap myself in tinfoil on a regular basis. And, maybe for fun, but in the reality is we can't be the boy in the bubble. We can't live our lives that way.
No.
So these little like hackers, like the glasses, I'm in front of technology 12 hours a day, as I'm sure you are. I'm surrounded by all kinds of like green wave devices plugged into my outlets and Defender pads and standing on earthing mats because I'm with
you must be following Dr. Jack Kruse.
Well, I actually had been doing this before I heard of Jack Kruse. I found Jack Kruse by my own living of these things because I've been
I had him on the show.
I know he's a trip, and I know he's very controversial in some places.
Still the most downloaded episode I ever had. Like that guy's got like a crazy viral following.
Part of why he's so good is because he is so provocative and he tells it like it is, and he's right.
I will agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
He's like, listen, he's there with his blue blockers on with like dim lighting, and he was my first videoed episode. So I when I started doing this, and he's like, just so you know, I'm literally killing myself right now. I'm like, maybe not in that exact way of saying it, but I was like,
pretty accurate. Yeah.
Should I apologize to have you come on and do video? He's like, no. He's like, it's necessary. We have to get the message out there. So, but I was like, wow, there's that provocative piece.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But he is, he reaches a particular population of people that are really open to his message. We have other people coming down the pipeline who have their own kind of version or personality of putting that information out there, such as Nick. Is it Piccol? I know I'm saying his name incorrectly, but he has a great book called EMF Guide to, like, the Tinfoil Guide to EMF Living, or something, a cute little clever name like that. And he's doing some cool trainings now for physicians around EMFs.
Yeah.
Not quite as provocative as Dr. Cruz, but man, the message is the same, right?
You don't need to be like Jack Cruz. Each of us have our own personal brand, right? Your own style. So yeah. I like that.
I like it. And that's the thing, is you just, today, living on the planet, you have to just take those extra steps to take care of yourself. And it may seem like it's a little crazy to some people, but we keep learning more information every day about what is affecting our overall health and vitality. And it's amazing how many people I meet who think they're healthy until they get a diagnosis of cancer. And that's my whole world, right? And then when I start to really help them analyze their terrain, look at that topo map of their body and being, it's actually a miracle they didn't get cancer much sooner. And that's kind of how I see the world today. And that might seem like a buzzkill to your listeners, but today it's 1 in 2 men and 1 in 2.4 women will have this diagnosis in the United States in their lifetime. So you better start looking like, geeking out like you and I are doing right now.
And found the book.
Yes, it's great.
The non-tinfoil guide to EMFs. How to fix our stupid use. Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. How to fix our stupid use of technology by Nicholas Pineault.
Yeah. He's fantastic. Yeah.
Right, obviously, I'm going to go back and while we're talking and actually share your site here now. So it gave me an excuse to fire up screen sharing. So
right on.
No, but I love all this because let's be real. I've coached health, fitness over the years, many different domains, from spinning and cycling to ski racing for youths to CrossFit. I'm actually a CFL 1 CrossFit coach right now. So because it's my life balance, right? And people are like, oh, so what? He's like, I literally had something the other day. They said, oh, I finally listened to one of your podcast episodes. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I didn't realize you've done all this stuff that you've done. And you still do all this stuff. He's like, maybe one of these days you should probably focus on one thing. I think it's one of my friends. And I'm like, no. See, 15, 20 years ago, I thought I was supposed to do that. And then I realized, listen, if you have the mental capacity and the patience and the ability to release stress to be able to handle multiple domains of focus and keep learning, I should be that guy. Like, why is that a problem? Because let's be real, from biohacking, or Jack Cruz calls it mitohacking, or his mitochondriacs, like, if I'm not going to be the one who at least tries to figure this stuff out with you and everybody else, and then get the message out there over a podcast, over a website, like, we need to be doing this, right?
You got it.
That's what I'm hearing.
You're hearing it so perfectly, because here's the deal. I've been at this for myself for going on 27 years.
You got me beat.
Well, but this is what's so crazy is it's been like I've been living on my own little island all by myself, looking like the crazy lady. And it wasn't.
With the tinfoil hat.
Right, exactly. My tinfoil wrapping look here. But here's the coolest thing is in the last 5 years, I would say, maybe, especially in the last 2 to 3 at a super huge momentum. Up until that point, I was kind of alone, but you know who changed it? It wasn't me. It wasn't doctors. It wasn't even so much as patients. The people who are changing the discussion of health are the tech world, the biohackers,
yes,
the Silicon Valley people, you guys and the podcasters and the bloggers. This is what is so amazing, is that you guys are out there living it and sharing your knowledge and bringing this information to the masses in a way that they never would have gotten it from their family physician. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing about that, right? I try to explain to people my silly glasses. I consider them now fun glasses. That's why I purposely ordered different color. Like, here's the best part, right? Real quick. My fiance does not understand, and she's a smart woman, right? She's a doctor of equine veterinary. So she's a horse doctor. She's a doctor of chiropractic. So she actually does chiropractic care on animals. And then in November, we recently went down to South Africa for 2 weeks. 1 week for vacation, 1 week to go attend an equine conference while on safari. That was awesome, by the way. And wow. I know, right? And I said, and she brings back this knowledge of shockwave technology. So she just bought a $30,000 shockwave machine because she cares about wellness for the animals and healing them to prevent surgery, right? She's not a surgical doctor. She's like, listen, if a horse is that bad, I will say, you got to go to the surgical center, right?
Wow.
Her whole goal, and trust me, she's heavy on the medicine. That's what they teach you.
Right.
But the cool thing is she's starting to move. And I no longer push her. Like, she's starting to move and morph towards the wellness stuff more, thanks to probably her chiropractic background, and now investing in the shockwave therapy, which, by the way, we've used on each other. Not sure if that's legal or not, but I'm like, hey, you spent a lot of money on this. Let's use it.
Exactly.
It's a little weird. It's like you hear a pop, 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 and it's like sending high frequency sound waves into your tissue to break up adhesions and everything else. So. Anyway,
using that technology and treating cancer tumors. So,
I know it's being used on humans. Yeah. So, but the real quick thing was these glasses. Like, she's like, the first pair of blue blockers I had with the orange lenses. She's like, you look ridiculous. Let's be real. And then she said, well, whatever. And then I'm trying to, like, she doesn't sleep well. She's like, why do you always talk about me on the podcast, by the way, real quick? And so Naisha, it's just like this. I was like, listen, baby, I was like, you're a part of my life and I can't not, because I'm the crazy tinfoil hat guy. And she thinks I look ridiculous in my blue blockers, but now I ordered her a pair of pink frames of these.
Oh yes, you did.
And she's now wearing them at night. Because she's always watching TV and she has her iPad in front of her playing her mind exercise apps, because that's what she likes to do. And I'm like, you wonder why you can't stay in a deep, deep, deep level of REM sleep cycle. She's like, well, I have no problem going to sleep. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. Anybody can close their eyes and fall asleep. I know some people can't, but everything you and I are talking about and overstimulation, I'm like, yes, some people are affected that way and they can't go to sleep right away. Other people can go to sleep, like her, but then she's not entering the deep cycle and not staying in there. Right. I don't know if you study any of that, but
I do. I absolutely, because, that's the other thing. So we now are, again, food, very important. Light exposure, very important. Circadian rhythm. Hello. That's where the
circadian rhythm.
That totally was what won the Nobel Prize this year. And so our sleep cycles are so critical to our health and well-being. I mean, 2 nights of bad sleep will stimulate your insulin growth factor to the point where it is massive for growing tumors and growths throughout the whole body and throwing you into endocrine disruption and metabolic disruption. It's a big deal. So sleep is definitely critical, and quality of sleep, as you pointed out, is critical.
But wait a minute, Naisha, I'm getting my 8 hours every night. It also matters. I got to stay on a cycle. Ergo, circadian keyword rhythm. Exactly. Yes, I'm always. I literally. So, how about you? You actually saw that I did that Facebook Live podcast I did with Dr. Megan Cannon. We brought this stuff up. So
love it
because she works a lot with collegiate athletes, and it was kind of funny. You'll appreciate this. So yesterday we're doing a CrossFit workout at my friend's CrossFit gym. It's a partner day. And there's a new girl. She wasn't talking to anybody. And we're doing burpees next to each other to warm up. And I'm like, by the way, hi, I'm Scott. And we're jumping up and down doing our burpees. And she's like, oh yeah, I haven't really talked to anybody yet because it's like my first time here. And I'm like, well, hi, I'm Scott. And I find out that she just moved back from Spokane, Washington. She's a former collegiate volleyball, like D3 athlete who's now a college volleyball coach. Cool. And she got hired here at one of the local universities, Muhlenberg College, which is like 10 minutes from my house. And she was there because she started CrossFitting two years ago. Cool. And she's just checking out which box she may want to join. And then I find out like, oh, she's got a whole team of collegiate athletes and she's the women's volleyball coach. And I said, oh, well, you need to bring them back in here because my friend who owns a CrossFit gym brings in Dr. Megan Cannon to do WOD and Learn events. So we do the workout of the day, and then everybody hangs out while they're sweaty and mobilizes and stretches. And then she runs an entire sports psychology education session.
It's fun.
Right? So it's like we need to be cross-blending all of what we're talking about here, because even in that podcast episode, which will air in a couple of weeks, we discussed the importance of how youth, and we were there. Let's be real, I did this. Like, oh, you got the hero complex. Like, oh, man, I only need 6 hours a night, man. I got studying to do. But clearly, is that good?
Right.
Because what I'm hearing from you is maybe not.
Well, and we're finding, I mean, luckily, because of scientists like who just won the Nobel Prize, we're finding that each of our cells have their own little inner clock, and they only function, they only do their job in the midst of a particular time frame. So this is what's so interesting to me is the Chinese medicine. So that's also one of my millions of degrees. My husband's put me on a moratorium at this point, but I love the ancient medicines, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, because they were the original. They were the original biohackers, right? They looked at the world of how we related to nature in and nature out, and how to best manipulate and optimize our body with the world and the nature around us. So they were ahead of the game. But a couple of things I learned in Chinese medicine school was the time frame of things. So basically, we knew in Chinese medicine that if you're not in bed by 11 p.m., and especially if you're awake between 11 and 3 a.m., your liver is not doing its job. That is
interesting.
Right? And that is a critical time. So if I have people, grave shift workers, highest rates of cancer and diabetes and other mental, emotional.
Real quick, grave shift workers like third shift?
Yeah, got it.
And, people who work from like midnight on until sunrise?
Got it.
Okay.
Big time. Big time. Talk about circadian rhythm switcheroo, right? That's a biggie. The other piece of this is if you're awake in that time, when you're not doing those jobs, everything gets kind of inefficient and backed up, right? So, it'll eventually get to it, but not as effectively as possible. So I have people who say, I go to bed at 2 and sleep till 10, so I'm getting my 8 hours. But they're missing the timing. Just like people like Dr. Kruse saying the timing of your meals is actually more important than what's in your meal itself. I don't 100% agree with that. Mind you, I think quality.
I experiment with full fasting to intermittent fasting all the time. So technically I'd be breaking that protocol, right?
Yeah, exactly. So playing with these things is like we have a rhythm. We are attached to a pattern for a reason. It's not that it was an arbitrary, we just made this up as we went along. It works. That's where our cells are their most responsible for their particular job. So that is key here, and sleep is the way to do it.
So you said cellular clocks, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously the master plan here, going back to circadian rhythm, is to have, I'm guessing, all of our cells in tune with each other and hopefully on the same clock cycle.
Got it.
Right? So you're saying that if we screw up our sleep cycle for 48 hours, so perfect example is I'm going to be honest. Like last night, we don't hang out late, and we weren't drinking crazily. Well, she was a little hammered, but because I think it's because my friend's stories were so ridiculous. She kept saying I should just go to bed. I want to be up early. She wanted to go to yoga. I'm like, just go, babe. And then next thing you know, another past story comes out, and she's just like, oh, well, here, Scott, go get me another wine. And I'm like, okay, you want to hang. So we probably didn't go to sleep until like 2 a.m. And we don't do that. Like at the latest, maybe 11 p.m. Because I like my 10:30 to 11 to like about, the 7, 8 a.m., especially on the weekends. Yeah. So that's probably why I only had 2 cups of coffee, because we slept in this morning, because I said we have to at least get the full 8 or 8 plus. Yeah. And we're not going to do it again tonight. So we're not going to hit that 48-hour thing. So I guess my question to you is, people are hearing this. Yeah. On average, you're not partying 2 nights in a row. Like you're going to have that one rough night, and then it's like, okay, I need to recover. So is there a major difference between the whole 24-hour screwing you up and then getting right back on track the next day versus the 48-hour? What are we talking about there?
I actually think, because we alluded to this early on about hormesis, is I think those moments when you do stress your body, stress your normal rhythm, stress your normal routine, kind of gives a little bit of a wake-up call to the whole chemistry to kind of be like, what just happened here? Everyone jump in. I think short-term experiences like that are not a problem. In fact, I think they can be helpful. All right. So
my scotch last night until 2 a.m. was helpful.
You just did a lovely little upgrade in your chemistry with that, but that's the thing is today, most of the people in there, especially, oh my God, I think about where I was in my teens, 20s, 30s. It was more many days in a row, or for some people, many weeks, or hello lifetime in a row of that. I worked, grave shifts for several years early on into my early 20s. I worked restaurant business where you'd finish up at midnight, you'd go out partying with your colleagues until 3 a.m. and you'd get up and do it all over again. That was the world. Hello, right?
Former bouncer, bar back, and bartender.
Totally. Done it all. Yeah. Exactly. And, and part of it, you would never want to miss those experiences and opportunities in your lifetime. And we have to kind of clean ourselves up from that. And so, today especially, our mitochondria are not as hardy coming into this world as they were 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 80 years ago.
Pause on that real quick. So you're saying, because I'm just immediately firing in my head here. I'm like, So there is how do I say this? You're going to correct me. Genetic passing on of negative disposition of our mitochondria. Like, hey, dude, we started all these years of pollution and new technology. We are actually somewhat hard coding that into our DNA and then passing that on to the next generation. Is that what I'm hearing?
You're absolutely right. It's called epigenetics.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right.
You know, do you know Dr. Anthony J?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's been on the show a couple times.
Oh, very cool.
We're coming back on because I'm waiting for my 23andMe results to come back. And then he's going to run a full analysis on a podcast of my DNA results.
Oh, I love it. And that's what I do on every one of my clients. So that's how I look at how
Ladies and gentlemen, that's one of her services.
That's one of my services.
I like that.
That information is so helpful to know, well, what deck of cards were you dealt in this lifetime? But the cool thing that Dr. J and myself, we talk about here is, how are you playing that hand of cards? You know, that's the key. And so it's not, these are dynamic genetic expressions, so you can do something about them. All right.
Okay.
And so that's the piece here that I want people to, don't feel like, I always tell people, I feel like I'm giving you all the bad news and you're ready to kind of go and jump off a bridge. But I never tell you the bad news without telling you there's something to do about it. And so it's just part and parcel of understanding where we've come from. So there's a couple cool studies that have come out that even what your dad ate prior to your conception is going to have an impact on your life and your health, right? So I just think to myself, oh my God, my dad ate pickled pig's feet and Vienna sausages. I mean, no wonder I had cancer at 19.
My dad loves his corned beef hash, and do you know what scrapple is?
No, but you're going to tell us.
It's not. No, I mean it's this gray brick of meat stuff that you slice up and then you pan fry it or pan sear it. I don't know if it's Pennsylvania Dutch. It can't be Irish because when I went to Ireland, I'm like, that was not on my plate. I ordered like classic Irish breakfasts over there, and they had these different colored discs of sausage.
Oh yeah, with sausage and sausage. Yeah,
like there's a red one and a black one, and I'm like, that was weird too. Yep. But I was like, scrapple, man. Anyway, shout out to anybody here in the Northeast U.S., especially in Pennsylvania, who may be Pennsylvania Dutch. I'm thinking it's probably some kind of German influenced food. It is not pretty looking. I don't understand why people eat it. It just looks like overly processed slab of gray stuff. So
it's like the precursor to Spam.
I don't know. It's just not. I mean, it's Spam too, right? Like people are like, there was a health guy who actually recommended Spam, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Processes it gets, but no, these are the things when you kind of coming back to your first question is, what if we just kind of have a rager every once in a while? What if we just don't get a good night's sleep every once in a while? We're traveling, we've had a big stressor, we're at a friend's bridal shower, like whatever, all those normal things, like those are life experiences, are like little hormetic moments of pushing your body to respond in a particular way. But when you stay in that state, over time, your mitochondria become weaker and weaker and weaker, and less in number, and less efficient and effective in creating ATP, your energy source. So the first sign of people having mitochondrial damage is fatigue. And
of course,
one complaint to every practitioner I've ever met, whether you're a chiropractor, an equine, veterinarian, a doctor of naturopathic medicine, a conventional medical doctor, everyone comes in and complains about being tired. And we are being born in a chemical soup that has rendered our previous passed down genetics more vulnerable than before. So for instance, when I started practice, the average age of the patient I saw with cancer was 68. And that was about the nation average.
And you're saying it's like 20 years ago, or?
Yeah, this is in 1996, right?
Okay.
So today,
I was a freshman at college.
Yeah, you were, or not yet. You were still a twinkle in your parents' eyes. Okay. No, but honestly, where today the average patient I see is 45. And
see, that's sad. I'm 40 now, so in 5 years, I'm supposed to be one of these possible people. Unfortunately, due to just basic numbers.
It is. And all my friends who made fun of me being the tinfoil hat lady, they're all getting diagnosed with crazy cancers now. And
Isn't that sad and scary?
Horribly sad. And I sound like the lunatic shouting it from the rooftops until they have it. And then they're like, what was that you were saying again? And so my whole mission of talking to people like you and being out there is like, do something about it before it's a problem. Start fine tuning your terrain now. Don't wait to be a building engulfed in flames. Address the smoldering ember in the basement.
Well, all right. So I hate to bring up, actually, real quick, before we jump into this, I have to share this with you.
Please.
We have fun on this show. And you have to see Scrapple.
Okay, now I'm really excited. Oh, okay. Just
ingredients:
frightening.
Pork stock, pork skins, cornmeal, pork livers, wheat flour, pork fat, pork hearts, salt, and spices.
So actually, if they'd removed the corn, the spices, which is probably just MSG and wheat flour, it actually would have been a decent product.
I would agree. And this is
oh, what, and your dad loves this.
Just saying. Whoa. He's also type 2 diabetic. So
well,
I love you, Dad, but no.
The glue's in there is what's getting your dad. The glue and that scrap.
Thank you. It's the wheat flour and the cornmeal. Two of the worst things you could put in your body. Seriously. And we grew up in farming. So I'm gonna protect us and stop sharing that and close that evil tab. But I will reshare now for our listeners because we haven't actually name dropped it yet. But obviously, we're talking a lot about cancer, and I do want our listeners to hear about the metabolic approach to cancer, which we've been talking about. But that is the name of your book. It is connected through your website. It is available on Amazon. But is this what, I guess, inspired you to write the book? Because unfortunately, you're seeing your friends and family increase in your numbers. Like, what kind of empowered you to actually take action on the book?
Well, looking back at my own personal history and my family history, we did not come from a nice, hearty grain of health. Like it was a lot of health challenges growing up. I was basically sick coming into this world, a lot of digestive issues, a lot of problems. By the time I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And
dear Lord.
And exactly. And so because I was pre-med, because I had an interest in the sciences, and because there was no Dr. Google at that time, is I started doing the research on, because I want to know, I want to understand processes. That's how my brain works. So I started digging, and the literature in my little library in Durango, Colorado, Fort Lewis College at that time had really old, outdated science texts because they couldn't afford the newer, fancier ones because we weren't a giant 4-year big accredited university. So that being said, is the type of materials I started running across in my research of cancer led me down the path to Otto Warburg and the Warburg effect, which is all about how our mitochondria process energy. Pretty simple concept. Basically, normally when we're healthy, our mitochondria breathe. There's this concept called respiration, and I won't go into the biochemistry of that. But as we start to beat the crap out of our mitochondria over time, with a lot of the things we've been talking about on your show so far, those poor little mitochondria stop breathing and start fermenting. And that fermentation process starts to spill their biotoxins, out into the cells around them and the tissues around them, and starts to bring in more inflammatory cytokines and more toxins and start to acidify the tissue. So a lot of people talk about, you have to eat an alkaline diet because that's what treats cancer. What people don't understand is the acidity is a result of the broken down mitochondria, not the effect, or not the cause. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, maybe to me, like, because I've been geeking more and more about this, and I've been following influencers like you and Anthony J and Jack Cruz. And that's another fun thing of launching a podcast. You start like adding layers of knowledge. But I mean, the interesting thing I wanted to pause on was this whole fermentation thing, because I'm like, wow, you don't think, I guess it's just, wow, you can literally start emanating outward increased damage.
You got it.
From within.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we talk a lot about inflammation because, I mean, you may agree or disagree with this company, but like you were talking about, you were Chinese education and the Ayurvedic way of life, right? Which actually isn't Ayurvedic Indian.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no idea that when I was wildland firefighting, and I want to tie this together because I've mentioned it many times on the show, but I think it's important to tie to what you're talking about because I'm a big advocate to helping people remove inflammation from the body. That's what you're talking about. I mean, fermentation's triggering inflammation.
Exactly.
So I knew nothing of this stuff. So I could really thank me beating the snot out of myself at 31, not being in the cubicle life anymore, but getting the federal government to beat the crap out of me as a wildland firefighter. And then I never had accumulated massive levels of exhaustion and lack of cellular rebuilding. I'm just trying to add more fun phrases now in this episode because you're with me. Because at the end of the firefighting season, we just did 2,000 hours on average, or 1,800 to 2,000 hours in a summer. So like from April to September, 16-hour shifts. You're going 2 weeks straight before you get a day off. Not good for you.
And you're eating on the run, and you're being inhaled.
Oh, trust me, the federal fire camps, like, dude, I mean, at least they had eggs. I still don't know if there were some of these camps. I think were powdered eggs. It was just not good. But like back then, I didn't know any better. I'm eating everything because if you're a standard wildland firefighter digging in the fire line, you're burning. I was told we supposedly burned on an average of 7,000 calories a day.
I believe it.
As a sawyer, because I got to become a sawyer, because you're hiking with the chainsaw and all the gear and wielding that thing. We probably were upwards of 10,000 calories a day. And so it was just like, dude, you just keep stuff in your face. We're eating MREs.
Oh God, dude, yes.
The level of preservatives in that.
Exactly.
So yeah,
last for decades. So yeah.
So when I did that Ireland trip, I went and backpacked Ireland after the sun season, like to reward myself. And I come home and my energy is just still in the tank. It's a month later. The fire season's done. I'm supposed to be enjoying my other half of the year off. And I went to a conference to keep my CEU credits up for back then I was a spinning instructor. And that's when I took a class on toxicology of the body.
Cool.
At this fitness event. And the woman and the husband teaching it, because he's like some kind of bioengineer, like inventor, they both were connected with a company called Isagenix, which is something that I use. Yeah. And some people agree and don't. I don't care. The point is, I got to learn about cellular toxicity. I didn't understand what the hell cleansing and fasting was and how your body's natural detoxification processes are actually bombarded and can't do what they normally do. So then I followed one of their programs to go through that. I'm not trying to turn a commercial or anything, but it's like, oh, now years later, I'm geeking out. Like I didn't eat until 2:00 today. I woke up, I'm like, I'm good. Made some coffee. And I finally had eggs and bacon before I came on the show.
You did autophagy. You took the garbage out.
Yeah.
Since the last scotch, you've been cleaning out the garbage so your body can keep rebuilding, regenerating every moment of every day.
Yeah. And I still follow their protocols. Probably once a quarter at least. I'll do a full 48-hour fast, Great. 2 weeks out of the month. Or some people could just do one day a week. I like to do the double because I'm used to it. I've been doing it for 8 years now. So it's easy. People are like, I don't understand how you could do that. I'm like, listen, even if I take Isagenix out of the equation, it's forcing my body to attack its own fat cells, which is releasing the stored toxin. Because I had on, Dr. Sylvia Tara?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So she released a book last year, The Secret Life of Fat. Cool. So I had her on. So so we were geeking out about this because she's like, you are releasing, your fat cells are designed to protect you. Right. Whatever your body can't naturally detoxify and filter out the bloodstream, it's being stored in your fat. Right. And then she's like, yes, when you go through a fasting process, your body's like, oh, I'm not eating. So those organs are shutting down, but it's going to start attacking the fat cells to pull, and then you're releasing toxicity back into your bloodstream. So depending on how toxic you are, it's not fun in the beginning.
Oh, no, it's not.
Can you talk to some of that? I think that's important.
It's like a recirculation. You've now liberated it from its storage tanks, and now it's circulating. And unless you are helping take that garbage out with things like sweating, enemas, hydration, dry brushing, breathing, like do a good workout.
Well, correct. Dry brushing for the listeners. What's that?
Like you can just take even a dried washcloth and just scrub up and down your whole body, torso, legs, up, everything.
Like in the morning or just any time of day?
Before you hop in the shower, anytime, whatever time your shower is. And you could use an actual brush, you could use a rag, you could use those little loofah sponges, and it pumps, it basically stimulates lymphatic drainage. Because most of us don't pay much attention to our lymph system, and our lymph system is our garbage collector. And
you just taught me something.
Cool.
I've never done dry rubbing.
Oh, you will love it. And
I heard to do that. Well, that might be called wet rubbing. But I heard when you finish a good yoga session, if you are sweating, and not all yoga gets you sweating, but let's say you're doing a hot yoga, because I do it all. They said, don't go into the shower right away. Wipe your body down first, because you have all the toxicity on the skin. And when you go take a shower, it's going to open the pores up and pull it back in.
Right. And that's kind of like why you dry brush before, to open the pore, like help it start. Or in Ayurveda, because it's related to the yogis, that whole concept, what you just described, is actually called Abhyanga. Okay. And that means
Abhyanga.
oil rubbing, oil massaging. And so basically before a shower, now I tell people this is kind of with a disclaimer, because you will kill yourself if you oil up and hop in a shower without a good thing to grip your feet on.
So the whole foot gripping thing. Yeah.
You do not come after Scott and I if you fall and hurt yourself. But you could use things like, coconut oil, sesame oil, rubbing onto your tissues, really massaging it in before hopping in a shower. And those oils are actually kind of drawing. So the tissues open up, it pulls the toxins out, but it also drives some of those oils in. And so, like, for instance, sesame oil is known as a kind of a cleanser of the tissues in Ayurveda. It's also really good for anxiety. It's really good to cool the fire of the body. So things like that, there's these ancient things that we now have the scientific method backing it up to understand why we've used something for 5,000 years.
I love the fact that you threw fire in, not just because my logo and in my brand, but obviously was inspired by the firefighting, because I love full circling these topics, because I remember a couple of years after I started playing around with the cleansing and the fasting stuff with Isogenics, then I see Time Magazine releases a powerful cover, and it was like a fire. Remember this one? It was black,
Dr.
fire,
Argibal.
And inflammation killing America or something like that. And it was like, okay, listeners, listen to this, or watchers on YouTube, but it's like, inflammation is fire within the body, right? Fire releases gas and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into the firefighting piece and fire sciences, but the point is, that's what we're talking about here. Whether it be fermentation, inflammation, fire in the body, this is the stuff that's tied to disease.
You got it. And how beautiful that our previous medical cultures associated them with things, natural patterns of nature. So fire, water, air, earth, wind, right?
Or like Jack talks about water, light, and magnetism, right?
Totally. And the fact that it's interesting. Some of the people who get what I do for a living the most are soil scientists, farmers, firefighter, people who work in nature and are around the rhythm. Because of fire, I live in an area where I was evacuated in 2002 from one of the worst fires in Colorado.
We studied that one.
Exactly, right?
Was that Storm King Mountain? No.
That was the Missionary Ridge Fire.
Yeah, Storm King was before that. I think that was in the 90s. That was a decimating fire.
Well, and so much of what we've learned about the fire problem today is because of the nature of the health or lack thereof of our forests. Mm-hmm. And so we had historically fires that would burn through to clean things up. Fever, right? How this relates into fever comes through, but what do? We suppress it. We don't cut down those trees. We take a Tylenol to suppress the fever. We don't let nature.
The Tylenol doesn't cure anything.
In fact, it kills your mitochondria and shuts down.
And it impacts your gut health.
Totally.
Right? Because it doesn't belong in the body.
Totally. Yeah. And if you suppress fire mitigation for long enough, Mother Nature is going to have her way with you.
Thank you for stating this. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was government triggered all over this nation. They tried cutting back on the use of wildfire. What she's hinting at, and we're going to tie this to your health, is, I have to speak just for fire because I love talking about it.
Perfect analogy.
And you live there, you know what I'm talking about, is that you have to thin the forest. Not just from a species density issue, right? Too many trees close together because they're robbing from each other, but also you have a fuel bed that builds up on the earth, or you have underbrush or mid-growth that builds up. And here's the thing, a healthy forest, you literally should be able to walk through. And we're going to tie this to current day. This is 2018, we're recording this. Late last year, a powerful new movie came out, first of its kind, really, to really probably tell the story of what the hotshot life was like. And it was a story of the Granite Mountain Hotshots who died in Arizona in 2013, the fallen 19. Yeah. And I knew 17 of their faces because in that movie, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Only the Brave.
I haven't. I don't know. I'm trying to prep myself for it because I tried to think about it. Yeah.
So I don't want to do that to you on the podcast. Sorry. But I take this personally because I served alongside of them. So in 2000, I fought fire 2010, 2011. If and when you see this movie, to the listeners, Only the Brave, they refer to a fire in there called the Horseshoe Fire. Yes. Well, that was in the Chiricahua Mountains near the border of Mexico in New Mexico. We were on that fire. They're on that fire. We literally got flown up because actually it was 2 years in a row. You're talking about how our forests are a mess. There was a Horseshoe 1 fire in 2010, and then there was a Horseshoe 2 fire in 2011. So there you go. We had all this wildfire in 2010 in that range, and yet there was still enough to start another fire a year later. So clearly, that's a lot of fuel. Right. And that's Mother Nature saying, hey, there's a problem in here, because fire is a purging effect. It will clean things out. But if you allow the fuel to build up too much, it gets dangerous. And that's what unfortunately killed them in 2013, right near their own hometown where they're based out of in Prescott, Arizona, because you had 30, 40 years of growth in that one canyon that they tried hiking out of. Mother Nature, the winds shifted, boxed off the canyon, and they couldn't get through fast enough to the safety zone they had established. And unfortunately, they deployed their fire shelters. They all lined out like we trained on, and hairs stand up on my arms because I've been there. And unfortunately, the fire shelters, that basically a foil cocoon, are designed to allow fire to pass over you.
Right.
But there was so much fuel in that canyon and the rims around it, they got sealed off, and it just turned it into a vortex. And that fire did not pass over them. It stalled on them and then just spun like a tornado, superheating that canyon.
Oh my God.
And I'm just taking a break in this episode because I have to bring this stuff up, because this totally comes back to, if you do not clean this stuff up, it will explode.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I don't know, you can refer to this in the form of what? Death? Let's be real.
Or
cancer.
Cancer, and that's what it is. That is, your description is exactly what happens with cancer. Is you have enough accumulation of materials, foreign materials, toxicants, dysbiosis, sugar, toxic thoughts, toxic relationships, stressful jobs that build up. And normally we have the shelters that they would move over us on occasion, right? There comes a time and a place where you get caught in the vortex. And that, my friends, is a diagnosis of critical nature. And that's where, instead of waiting to get to that point, which we are trained to do in our culture, the way we deal with a disease-based medical model, why don't you start thinning out your forests? Why don't you start changing the fuel sources? Why don't you start building some shelters and some preventative measures?
I'm loving this. We might have fun with the title of this episode, because I'm taking notes here, and I'm like, wildfire, or the wildfire of cancer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. This needs to be discussed, because, ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe this. I'm not the doctor you are. I truly believe that we can cure cancer. Cancer is a side effect of us not taking care of ourselves in the healthiest way possible at the cellular level. And again, I'm not the scientist, but I'm like, everything that I'm studying, everything that I'm doing in my own life is to help my cells reach their true peak life, or true peak performance, or just fuel the body, the mind, fuel it the right way.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, that is the side effect. That's what I'm hearing from you.
You got it. And I want to take it one step further, because you allude to, and what still kind of the dominant paradigm and belief system is in our culture, in our world, is that cancer is somehow an invader, that it's something outside of us that comes in. I want to remind you and your listeners that cancer is us. It is all in all of us all the time. It's not causing any problems when our terrain has been properly weeded and addressed and nourished and nurtured and optimized in whatever way is appropriate for you. It's when you stop, like the accumulation of that debris is what stops your mitochondria from breathing and start it to fermenting, which then starts that wildfire to really get out of control. And you are so perfect for this discussion, because you've lived the literal metaphor of this. And so it's so identical. Like I said, the people who seem to get this concept the most are those who are most in touch with nature. My brother-in-law was a soil scientist. He saw it on the deeper level. I speak at the Acres Conference, which is all about soil remediation, biodynamic farming, permaculture, organic culture, to realize that you don't poison the shit out of your food to make more food. You nourish the soil.
That's a whole other episode.
It is a whole other episode. And those people get it, man. There are some amazing minds.
I was born, we had a farm. Really? I grew up, we didn't have to farm the fields, but I knew enough, like the only fertilizer that we put on the fields came from the animals on the farm.
Exactly.
We didn't spray crap on our fields in the 80s when I grew up.
Right. And I grew up in the 70s in wheat country in Kansas. and watched as Roundup was being introduced in 1971, the year of my birth, was the year it was starting to be slowly introduced. It didn't hit full commercial scale until 1996.
And ladies and gentlemen, she's referring to pesticides.
Well, and the Roundup Ready, meaning that, okay, you've now got the pesticide herbicide, but you're also trying to ripen the fields at the same time so you can harvest them efficiently and effectively. It's all about the bottom dollar.
How do you do that? Hold on. You're mixing, first of all, anything that ends in the word, I learned this from actually isogenics, anything that words, literally from that very first class I took, anything that ends in ides, translated in Latin, means death.
Right.
So hold on. You mean to tell me that you have chemically created a concoction that serves death to our food while also fertilizing it and helping it become more nourishing?
And then slap a label on it, a marketing label on it that says, we are feeding the world with this.
Yeah. As a marketing guy, that frustrates the hell out of me because I'm like, guys, there's good and bad marketing.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other episode too. I've had on a regular, my regular co-host every month is one of them is a sports nutritionist. She works with Dr. Megan at Mind of the Athlete.
Okay.
And she's like the whole false labeling thing is rampant. You slap organic on cornmeal and that makes it okay. Right. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. Like what is that? Okay. Tell me the name of that weird stuff that your daddy
Scrapple.
Yeah. It's like, there it is. It's suddenly we take something.
Somebody's going to create organic Scrapple because, right? Because there's cornmeal in there and wheat flour. So hold on. If we source those ingredients from an organic field, we can now say this is organic Scrapple.
And it will still be the same weird product and still torture on your health, organic or not. Yeah. And that's the hard part that we're trying to teach our clients. It's like, that is this place where food quality and the labeling and the miscommunication and sort of the marketing of a dogmatic food belief system is really important, where our parents, our grandparents, maybe not your dad, but our parents, the grandparents and great grandparents, my husband and I have a bumper sticker on our refrigerator that says, eat organic food, or as your grandparents called it, food. I mean,
Thank you.
What we come to, right? Like, we've come to this point where we have to qualify. Now we've got an eating disorder now. They label people who think orthorexia, people who worry about what's in their food. We are now diseased. That's marketing, my friends. That is the powers that be who just determine what is in the psychology manuals are what your labels are based on. And so now people like you and I are considered mentally ill because we're promoting getting people back to the food source that nature intended. Yeah.
Which is scary. And real quick, I want to pause because I want to respect your time. Are you okay if we're going a little long? Because we're a little over.
Golden, you're on a roll.
Okay. Well, you're on a roll, girl. So, because this is important, right? I talk so much about fuel the body. It's my key word in my brand, positive marketing, right? Fueling your mind, fueling your business, fueling your health, whatever. Your metabolic approach to cancer, the tagline there is integrating deep nutrition. We'll kind of talk about it right now here. The ketogenic diet and non-toxic bio-individualized therapies. Okay. I'm not going to get into the non-toxic bio-individualized therapies because that's a whole lot of, that's a meal right there. But the integrating deep nutrition and ketogenic diet. I just said this the other day. I said, people listen, it's rest and recovery. We started that earlier in this episode, right? Proper sleep cycles, circadian rhythm, the right amount of daylight. Jack Cruz talks about that too, right? I just got back from skiing in your state, Colorado, and we were skiing at high altitude. And I was frustrated because we didn't have a lot of fresh air or fresh snow over most of those days. I only had fresh snowfall 2 of the days. But those blue sky days at 8 to 11,000 feet altitude, I'm getting amazing sun, amazing healthy UV exposure. Yeah, exactly. But now we're getting into how we actually fuel our bodies day in and day out. So last night, I just posted this I now have 2 Instagram feeds, by the way. Well, because I was like, sometimes some stuff didn't really make sense for Live the Fuel. So I created a Scott W. Mulvaney one. Anyway, I put it on Facebook today too. But last night, I made dinner for everybody. I said that earlier. So I post photos of that stuff because I want people to find ways to fuel their body right. So I had, clean, good mozzarella. I made a caprese salad, so, mozzarella and I bought a fresh organic, basil plant, which, was probably grown in a greenhouse that's organically certified, hydroponics. I'm not trying to rip on it too much.
I know.
Organic tomatoes, I'm following my labels, but then my beef, right? Some people are anti-beef, whatever. I am an omnivore. Sorry, I eat meats and veggies. I just had on Dr. Sean Baker, who's been eating 100% meat for months, and the guy's jacked and he's in his 50s. So something's there. But the point here is that my beef, as of 2 years ago, I started going back to the way my dad's dad did it and my dad did it. When I grew up on the farm, my dad had big chest freezers in his garage. So every year before winter, I sold eggs. That was my first business. I sold eggs on the side of the road, like 14, because I had a huge chicken coop. Cool. And then eventually your chickens reach a cycle where they're no longer laying. So now they become our meat for the winter. So we would butcher our chickens. My dad would then source beef specifically from farms that he knows because he was a cattle broker. So we knew that was good quality, well-raised meat. Anyway, the freezers get stuffed full of properly sourced meats, either from our own farm or from a friend's farm. So my beef that I served last night came from a cow that I invested in. So there's a local ranch near here, and you pay $100 deposit. Then they raise that cow all year long, and then that's basically $100 deposit on 1/4 of that meat. So that's a lot of meat. Yeah, but I know it's grass fed all year long.
Right.
He does do a little grain finishing in the end because people like to see the fat flavor on the animal. I don't know. Whatever. The point is, that's way better than I can get at the store.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And the price point better when you're going into it.
Oh, yeah. A quarter of beef cost me like between, I don't know, 700 plus. So that worked out to be like $4 a pound. That's like across my ground beef, the steaks, roasts, everything. Absolutely. So the point here is that I want to make sure my friends come over and my fiance, I am fueling their bodies right. And both these guys do not eat like I do. So I wanted to show them that, hey, this is how you eat clean, right? Yeah, they were drinking their beer and I'm having my scotch and she's having her wine. But at least I know that everything that ended up on those plates, I had Kerrygold cheddar cheese from Ireland, which is grass-fed sourced. Yeah. The spiraled sweet potatoes that I cooked were cooked in Kerrygold grass-fed butter in a cast iron pan. Yum. I grilled the steaks outside. I used my friends from Villa Capelli in Italy. I used their olive oil, comes straight from their villa. I used their olive oil and I rubbed the steaks down, fresh ground. Like, I'm probably making people hungry listening to this.
Yeah, exactly.
But make cooking fun. Because per the subtitle in your book, we need to get deeper into our nutrition. And that's what I wanted to kind of make sure we dug a little bit deeper into here. We don't need to be giving like food tips, but why, again, going back to why is deep nutrition so crucial?
Because we've gone so superficial and so fast food and so just take care of my hunger, just slap something on me as quickly as it is so I can just move on with my life and be completely mindless with regards to how I feel my body. That worked for a period of time. When we moved women into the factories and whatnot, when our men went to World War II, we needed to take people out of the homes to start working the jobs to keep our country going. But then we all stayed there. We all started getting away from food as the source of our love language, as a source of a moment for all of us to sit and be together.
We went for convenience.
Yeah, as a source of knowing and supporting your local farmer and rancher and absolutely knowing where your food comes from and having a relationship with it, maybe even raising it and slaughtering it yourself or pulling it out of the ground yourself if you're lucky enough to have that experience. But we've gotten so far from that people literally have no idea. They believe that their meat is coming from a cellophane wrapper, in a store. And there's that component. So we've lost touch with something that is so ancient and primal to our being and how we communicated and connected with another. So now food is more of convenience and just flavor, like hit the flavor hard and furious and then get out of there and then crave more of it and come back and repeat, like over and over again. So we're all overfed and undernourished. So I'm walking around looking at labs because I lab the crap out of my patients. Okay. And I see 6 major nutrients that are depleted basically across the board in every single cancer patient: vitamin D3, vitamin K2, B12, magnesium, zinc, and I'm missing one, selenium. Okay. These are
selenium.
Right. These are big 6s that I see in all my clients across the board. You'll notice that a few of those are very specific to animal protein and very specific to fat in animal protein. So what have we done?
I can back that up. My boy, have you been on If not, I gotta get you connected. Have you been on Fitness Confidential yet with Vinny Tortorich?
No, but I know that show. Yeah.
Oh, that's way bigger than my show. I mean, he's the trainer to the stars out in LA his whole career. So he's well connected. And now he's literally a guest fitness co-host on Adam Carolla's podcast, which is
that's huge.
Viral. Right. Anyway, he's a cancer survivor.
Oh, wow.
I got to you guys are going to have a blast. And he loves bringing on experts. But the point is that he survived cancer. He's the one who trademarked NSNG, no sugar, no grains. That's him.
Wow. I did not know that.
He created a company called NSNG Lifestyle. In the past year and a half, 2 years, he's now created his own vitamin company called Pure Vitamin Club. And I use his vitamins along with my isogenic stuff. So I don't care. I play around. And the coffee I'm drinking is his new Pure Coffee Club.
Oh, and I'm in his coffee club. I didn't even know that.
Pure Coffee Club? That's him. That's him. Him and Andy, his buddy Andy Schreiber founded it. Yeah.
Cool. I did not put that together.
Wait, how did you find Pure Coffee Club?
Oh my God, because I'm always looking for good source stuff. That is what I do for fun.
That's him. So now, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to send you, I always do a warm email to Vinny to get people introduced, but this is huge because everything you're talking about cancer, but fueling the body, right? His very first vitamin that he created was a multi-cap only with the essential vitamins and minerals that we are not getting in our food that our body can't create itself, right?
Nice.
And then he created a really high-end proper magnesium supplement.
Huge.
With the right magnesium blends, because he works a lot with vegans and vegetarians and everything else. And he said, listen, let's be real. I don't care what expert you're talking to. You're not going to get enough magnesium when you just don't wash your organic vegetables and just leave the dirt on there.
Exactly.
That's BS. Right. And then he invented a sublingual B12 tab you put on your tongue.
Nice.
Because it's the best way to absorb it. And he said, what you just hinted at earlier, B12 is an animal-based vitamin. Yeah. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I mean, you can get B12 in other sources, but not the levels you need and the ability that you need.
Yeah, here's the thing. Vegetarians and vegans hearing this, please supplement B12. That's my call out to you. I learned this from Vinny and his science team. You have to, because
vitamin D3 is another one for veggies.
Well, and you're going to love this. So did you hear about Villa Capelli before?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I do shots of olive oil every morning from Villa Capelli. They came out with new travel size bottles, and it's on my Instagram feed. I took them to Colorado. Nice. So every day when I ski, I do my shots, and there's a shot of me taking a shot in the hot tub. You got to make it fun. Healthy fats, properly sourced food. I tell people all the time, I can take a shot of olive oil and I'm good until the mid-afternoon. Exactly. I've trained my body that way. Exactly. But my point here for you is he's about to release a partnership with Villa Capelli because D3 is a fat soluble vitamin. So they're going to release the first vitamin of its kind that has D3 in an olive oil carrier.
I love it. A quality olive oil carrier. Those exist right now.
Thank you.
You don't know if it's hexane derived or canola cut or
Did you read the amazing viral book Extra Virginity?
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude. I knew we were going to have fun. This is awesome. We have so much crossover here. This is awesome.
I love it.
But I knew you would appreciate that.
Wow. I love it. That is, and that's the piece here that we've gotten so far away from that since basically World War II. And we've got fat phobic, so we stopped getting our lard and our grass-fed and grass-finished everything. And our
pause on that. Please pause on that. Yeah. People need to hear this, ladies and gentlemen. There's, I'm fat. And then there's, that's a fatty food. Right. Why are people so confused about this? Again, going back to marketing, but go ahead.
Well, it was marketing. Honestly, it was a group of scientists that said, let's demonize fat so we can sell sugar. That's the essence of it. And we actually had that whistleblown story come out of a couple of Harvard scientists back in the 60s that basically got paid what was the equivalent to a lot more money today, money to basically push the focus on to going low fat, which meant putting in more sugar, which meant subsidizing our grain industry and our sugar industry in a pretty significant way.
I've said this so many times. I'm like, guys, this is all government driven. I'm not trying to be political, but we many years ago subsidized farming to save farming, to your earlier quotes, feed America.
Yeah. It was,
and then we still are. That's the problem.
You got it.
And that's why our SAD diet, which Vinny talks about all the time, standard American diet, really is sad because it's inappropriately influenced. The food pyramid is completely upside down and backwards. Grains are not supposed to be the foundation, but we've created this with incorrect guidance.
Right. And if we hadn't added even a bunch of poisons to our grains, or after Cold War started growing our own wheat that has 70% more gluten in it because we were trying to grow something faster and bigger, and then glyphosate added to that,
genetically modified,
added to that, right? Exactly. We then created kind of like Frankenfoods that maybe we could have stayed eating our ancient grains to some degree today, but we can't anymore. We had an Indian population that when I first went to India in 1992, 93, they had one of the lowest rates of breast cancer and diabetes in the world.
Wow.
Today, they're bypassing us. And
do you think that is that just because of their population growth and population numbers, or are you just saying that's literally their lifestyle has been inappropriately influenced?
Well, they're eating the same. Well, there's a couple things. So you still have the traditional food that's been eaten for thousands of years, for millennia, which is a very rice-based, pulse-based, so beans and rice, food program. However, what we've added, because their entire continent is completely taken over by Monsanto, is we've added Roundup to that. So we've endocrine disrupted generations of people. So the food is sick, which is making the people sick.
Their obesity rates have severely increased.
Oh, ridiculous. And it's off the charts. And so there's that. Then they've adopted Western Western ideologies, Western philosophies, Western lifestyle. And then they've also gotten really addicted to the sugar industry in a big way.
Because that's what sugar does. It's addicting.
It's no different than cocaine in your brain centers. No different at all. So we've had a couple things, and we're seeing where people are like, well, what about the people in Japan who eat rice? Well, today the rice in those places are so polluted with arsenic that now they're all dying of cardiovascular disease and brain issues. And it's like we've bastardized the food, that now the food is poisonous.
I take it personally, I don't like it either, because luckily as a kid, I was a very high energy kid. So my parents put me into karate.
Cool.
And luckily, I got to study Shoin-ryu, which was actually an Okinawan-based art. And Okinawa is one of the oldest pieces of Japan.
Blue zones, yeah.
And I don't care about the whole World War crap. In the end, Japanese culture is so rooted in history, and it has such a high level of intelligence, I think, tied to their old ways of lifestyle. I respect a lot of that, the whole ninjas and everything else, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into it. The whole point is like the samurai, right? There's so much rich culture and history there. And now, unfortunately, thanks to Western influence, it has changed everything. And even in China too. I'm like, guys, I feel guilty because I love the USA. All right. I am very patriotic, being a former federal employee and everything else. But I'm like, man, we need to step back up and set the right example, because we're sending the wrong message.
You got it. But you know what? I think there, when I went and spoke at Acres Conference this year, and I've kind of met more people, farmers, ranchers, foodies around the world, bloggers, podcasters like yourself, there is a resurgence of going back to, let's take our old ways and modernize them. Let's go ahead and take the best of both worlds. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can improve upon what our great grandparents did. So we don't have to die of infectious disease, because we can now wash our hands, and we now have certain antibiotics available to us if we need them. But we certainly are not dying now of that. We're dying of modern time diseases, which are damaging our mitochondria. Most diseases we die of today are thanks to mitochondrial poisons, mitochondrial damage. So that's cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's, neurological diseases in general are the fastest growing diseases. So that's where the things have changed. And what has changed with it is our food. I mean, really is the biggest change. And then our technologies around us, hence why
our glasses,
the technology, but work with it, improve upon it.
I joke around people all the time, like, guys, if you think I'm crazy because I own these glasses, why? Because Apple's a smart company, right? The iPhone is a viral phone that many, many people own. Then why did about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, did Apple add in a screen adjustment setting, and you could program it to reduce blue light?
You got it.
And if this is BS, why would they hard code it into their operating system and the software?
You got it. And why would some of the heads of these big organizations, these big tech organizations, limit their children's time to these devices? So it's
and they're the ones manufacturing the devices.
Because it's like yeah. I mean, it's interesting how many doctors I know never vaccinated their children, or how many oncologists I know who never took chemotherapy, but sure as hell can't say that to their patients. They sure as hell can't put that out there.
Because again, not to rip on I'll rip on the government a little bit, because they will get penalized. They could lose their licensing.
Exactly what, and they're far too needed. And the thing is it's not even about dissing on those treatments. That's, those life-saving treatments. It's about, we can do them better. So for instance, let's use chemotherapy as an example. Today, we don't have to guess what chemotherapy. You can actually test and know exactly what chemo that person's body will respond to, know their epigenetics, know their labs, and know how to bring on an entire program that is so individuated to them that you will absolutely enhance the effect of the chemo while protecting the healthy cells and creating new mitochondria, which is the whole true holy grail of prevention of medicine, of chronic illness to begin with. That is where we've come to today. And that is where I shout from the mountaintops of, we do not have to do it standard of care anymore. That standard of care is killing us.
See, that's exciting. I mean, hearing that we can fine tune something like chemo, because let's be real, chemo is not a fun experience. My first charitable experience was probably early 2000s. I used to have a regular martini at my friend's bar, and her father-in-law passed away of pancreatic cancer. And then one of her regular customers was a top oncologist here at St. Luke's University Hospital Network. So we created a charity in his memory called Green Hope Charities. And we spent years raising money every year for Dr. Lee Riley's cancer vaccine research that he was doing. So every year we have a huge golf event, raise over 6 figures, and we literally got to help buy equipment for his lab. And then years later, they ended up that hospital ended up building an entire cancer dedicated campus here.
Wow.
And I think there's like a room or something in that hospital named Green Hope in its memory, because we don't run the charity anymore. But still, like, Lee Riley is like the head oncologist there, and he's on all the billboards when you drive down the highway now and everything. So I'm excited for his growth.
Yeah.
But it's just, cancer is no joke. And I said it earlier, not being at your level, I truly feel we can cure these diseases. These are all diseases that we created.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
You said it yourself. You're like, hey, listen, cancer's in the body.
Right.
It's naturally occurring. It's just, you either live a lifestyle that doesn't activate it, or you live a lifestyle that does activate it. That's what I'm kind of like. I'm simplifying a lot of your intelligence.
Exactly. But right there's the Cliff's Notes right there. You don't have to buy the book.
No, please buy the book.
Okay, thank you. But that's what's really amazing. You just said it. You just nailed it. It's like, I believe that we are far more powerful than we're led to believe. Right. And I think that there's a lot more that we can do about it. And part of that is it also invokes socialism, or not socialism, social justice and social awareness and social activity to change, get to know your local rancher and farmer, support your local small businesses, start to understand your technologies, take courses like what Nick Panola was showing that we put up earlier, the 10-foil guide, things like that, to learn, educate yourself so that you can make those baby steps every day to turn your mitochondria back into properly functioning, efficient powerhouses that they were meant to be.
Well, in the end, that's what we're talking about here, is the mitochondria, right? It's just, this has been come up multiple times throughout the show. Mm-hmm. People who are hearing this, who might not be full health nuts like you and I yet, I say yet, because we all need to become our own colleague, friends of mine, doctors in the esogenetics world. They call themselves, or the tagline they use is like, become your own inner physician. All right. Take accountability for your day-to-day health. Like, I have to pay for health insurance, right? Because that's the system we have in this country. I don't use it. Every month I pay for it, I don't get anything out of it. I spend my money and I go to chiropractors, I go get massage, and then I focus that extra cash flow into my nutrition, the deep nutrition you're talking about, right? Because if I'm fueling my body right and resting it and healing it and letting it do its thing and supercharging my mitochondria, that deep, deep cellular powerhouse, the power plant within your cells, I believe. Is that a good right way to say it?
Perfect. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well then why would I need a doctor? I mean, my MD, the medical doctor, is new age medicine that's just band-aiding this stuff. Yeah. The only MDs I really like are the ones that I find that actually are taking the time in their free time to study nutrition. Right?
Got it.
Because they don't have to. They're just, most MDs, I've had them admit it on my podcast. They say, yeah, we don't really get taught a lot about nutrition in college.
Yeah, 25% of the medical schools even offer an elective course. And if you're buried in the medical curriculum, you are not going to be like, I'm going to spend my extra time taking a nutrition class. I mean,
they have too much of studies as it is. I'm not trying to downplay their profession. I respect the amount of knowledge all you doctors go through. It's impressive.
Right.
And it's overwhelming.
Can be. Yeah. And that's where like leave it to the experts. That's why there are so many cool people who that's all they do is study nutrition and they know their stuff really well, whether they have an MD after their name or an RD, what I call a recovering RD, because they've then gone on and taken the more advanced training to actually understand therapeutic versus just Band-Aid nutrition. And then of course there's folks like myself who I love this part, like you, like I want to nourish the people in my life that I love. And you doing that with your friends last night, that meal was so healing on so many levels that it's still grooving out in their cells today. You know, I mean, that's what I think
there was olive oil and grass-fed butter all over everything. I left those guys fueled with fat.
Lubed. That's so good. That's
they were leaving healthy fatty. So yeah. But that's what we need to do. And I didn't sit there and basically say, listen, guys, I'm going to show you how to eat.
Right.
I just made a good, healthy meal.
Yeah.
Versus what they normally do.
Exactly. I love it.
I was loving it too. Actually, real quick, another name shout out for you. You ever hear of the famous South African doctor, Dr. Timothy Noakes?
Oh, heck yeah. I've been like following his story for years. It's just, you know, we thought we were all celebrating a couple of months ago thinking he came through it, but it looks like another tide is, you know, another.
Because they're not giving up. They're trying to re-sue him. Okay. And it's like, guys, give up. The courts, you're wasting your time. Right. But long story short, I'm bringing him on.
Yes.
I'm finally, because the time change is so hard. I literally brought my portable podcast gear with me to South Africa in November, hoping that I'd be able to meet him in person, do it live. We could not get the schedules, cross-referenced right enough. It didn't happen. I've been trying to rebook him, and I have him scheduled for April 5th, a recording session.
That is so good.
So excited. Excited.
That's a little, like, I feel like I could be with a lighter in the background.
Yeah, like, yay. Because that's the whole point, because Vinny has had him on more than once.
Love that.
So, because again, it's everything that we're all hitting on different elements of the master equation, which is just, and listen, for listeners here, maybe you don't vibe with Naisha. Yeah. Maybe you vibe with Jack Cruz. Maybe you vibe with Timothy Noakes. I don't care. Find somebody to vibe with.
Totally. Agreed.
That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Podcasts and YouTube videos, when all this stuff comes out, is we're pushing more and more content.
Right.
Whether it be, again, my show is health, business, and lifestyle. I'm just trying to fuel people. I'm not trying to be the expert and the guru. Granted, I can hang with you. I'm actually surprised. I'm like, oh God,
you're doing awesome, man.
Thanks, I'm trying. But it's like
I told you earlier, the people making the biggest change today in healthcare as we know it are people exactly like you, Scott. So please, like that I mean that totally from my core, because I've been at this for so long.
Yeah.
The biggest changes
27 years.
Yeah. I've watched this. The biggest changes are thanks to bloggers and podcasters like yourself. So thank you.
Well, it's because like
information out there.
Well, you don't have the time to do what we're doing. Like I haven't invested all the years of education like you have in Chinese medicine, which I'm really jealous on. I'd love to be able to find time to do that.
Dig it. Go back and do it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go do that too. But the point is like, well, that's the beauty of it. I've realized with this show, it's now approaching a year and a half old already. It's like, dude, I don't have to go back to college.
Learning from everyone else.
I tell people all the time, the power of audio or video, obviously when you're driving, not video, but
thanks for qualifying that.
I switched my car into, I call it the mobile university many years ago because I travel a lot on business. Like tomorrow, Monday, I will leave on a 5+ hour drive to Buffalo, New York to go do business development meetings all across the state all week long. Cool. So I drive a lot. Perfect. I love driving because I turn the stereo on. I don't have any FM radio stations booked. I put Bluetooth on and I'm streaming audiobooks and podcasts while I'm in my car.
Brilliant.
Right? It's like we all could do this.
I love it. Yeah. I think that's great. And that again is the gift and the curse, right? Like, okay, please protect yourself from all that EMF in your car. And but the same
that I am bombarding myself there. So
yeah. But you know, even then it's like pop your extra supplements to help your mitochondria when you have
all the biohacking, mitohacking, whatever you call it that I do. That's another reason why I'm so invested in that, to help balance that.
You got it. That's the word of the day, balance, for sure.
Yeah. So listen, this has been a powerful episode. I've been having
It has been. I'm psyched. Thank you.
I will say this. I have not had enough key influencers come on to really dig into I've been doing much more keto training and ketogenic adaptation because I'm so fat adapted now. And I feel like so many people don't understand keto and ketogenic, but I'm going to throw that invite out there. If you ever wanted to come back on and dig into that piece, just deeper, I think it'd be an awesome episode because I love your energy.
Thank you. Well, back at you. You let me know, and I'm happy to come in and unpack that one with you.
I think it'd be great. And then I'm definitely going to get you connected with Vinny because, dude, you guys are going to, he's going to love you because I'm surprised he hasn't had you on yet. And you're already his customer.
I know. See, come on. This is a natural.
It's scary. Actually, real quick, I'm going to share again for the end of the video here in case people, for some reason, which on YouTube is hard to do, but in case people did not like somehow skipped to the end of the video. But again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you actually get her book. We're streaming so much audio and video right now. My internet's slowing down. There it is. The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. Again, you can get it on Amazon. Did you release this in Audible yet?
No, it's supposedly coming out later this spring. So fingers crossed, and in 4 languages: German, Korean, Polish, and Spanish. Weird. And those all came from those countries requesting it. So to me, we're going global. I'm
impressed. So these countries actually, so you decide to do transcriptions in other languages when countries request it.
Yeah. So we don't go to them and say, hey, you want to do this in German? They come to the publishing company and say, we want this.
And that was, I see on your website, Chelsea Green Publishing.
Yeah.
So shout out to Chelsea Green.
They do a lot of great books on like food politics and cleaning up the environment. I mean, great. Go look through all their catalogs. They've got some great books.
My project this year is to, everybody keeps, I'm going to try and write a book.
Yes.
So about, well, just around the whole firefighting thing. People like, dude, you live such a crazy lifestyle transition. Even if it was only 2 years, like there's so much that's come out of that and where I am today. And like, I've had on editors and authors and everything else like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? So
love it.
I'm going to work on something because it's actually, it might be called like, well, back when I became a hotshot and I was still in the corporate space, I found it said, I started Googling it because I briefly dated a girl that was going to go back and be a female hotshot, which is, that's elite while in firefighting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so impressed. And I got obsessed with it and couldn't get it out of my head. And then I Google it and I found a article to another hotshot cruise page on a federal website. And it was titled, "So You Want to Be a Hotshot?" ?
Wow.
And then you read the article and they list all of the hellacious shit that you have to go through as bullet points. Like, and at the end of it, it says, so if this still intrigues you or you're still for some reason interested, please contact us.
Wow. Cool. This is perfect.
Right. So I was like, that might be the title of my book. I don't know yet, but it's, I just want to start because I want to set it up as a for-purpose model too, because my business is now for-purpose. So I donate a percentage of all my income towards not-for-profit activities. I hard-coded it into my business now. And I think for that book, when it does come out, I don't care about making money off of it. If it does, great. I want it to be successful, but I want to be able to hard-code a percentage or all of it. I haven't figured that out yet, to go to like some type of firefighting organizations, give back.
That's fantastic. I'm going to hold you accountable to this because
that
book is definitely birthing within you now. So
it's been going on for a while. I hate writing. That's why I podcast.
When Jeff and I did this book, we called each other the baby book mamas. We went through this process together. It was the hardest thing ever, and it was exactly like a pregnancy and delivery. As we got to the end, we're like, we will never do that again. I have another book coming out in September. Like it's like that weird thing, the amnesia kicks in. You're like, oh, that was great. Let's do it again. It's the hardest thing ever.
But to your valuable point, eventually we just have to swallow our own crap and realize, dude, my podcast hopefully is impacting other people. Your books are definitely impacting people. Eventually, sooner or later, we just realize I have to take accountability and somebody's got to get this information out there.
Absolutely.
So if you don't like writing, get out of your comfort zone and figure it out.
Exactly. Aho.
Well, this has been a powerful episode. Hank Tay, I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nasha was awesome today. Again, I said it multiple times. Please get that book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. And if nothing else, you want to kind of ease into it. You're one of those like put your toe in the water. Then just go to optimalterrainconsulting.com. And all the stuff will be linked in the show notes like we always do on the website. It'll be easy to track her down. I'll have all of her social media so you can do the digital stalking thing and follow her feeds because we love to digitally stalk each other. I do. I stalk Nasha. So, in a healthy professional way. So But again, this has been a powerful episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another Live the Fuel podcast with, again, Dr. Nasha. Check out optimalterrainconsulting.com, the book, Metabolic Approach to Cancer. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, you too can live the fuel. And you're free of the podcast. So
right on.
I just leave the video going for a while.
Yeah, there you go. That was really fun. I hope that was like, I love it. It just went on all the paths that it needed to go down. I hope that
sometimes I feel guilty because I feel like we go through so much content and it's all over the place sometimes. But that's why I like the open format and flow. And
something's there for everyone.
Right. And because if you came in with a Q&A, how many topics did we discuss today that might not have ever come up on a Q&A forum?
Probably 100.
Right. And then I realized after I passed the 1 year mark with the show, I said, it's audio content or video content now, but it's like you just rewind and go back and listen to that segment again.
That's
so
yeah.
Have fun with it. Let it flow. So.
I love it. It was really fun. You just took it on some really powerful, and I tell you, I get tons of goosebumps when you start talking about the fire things. Like, this is precisely the analogy of what I see in my work. They were no different from each other.
I was actually, when it started clicking in my head, I'm like, oh, we're going there. It feels right.
Powerful.
And just I fought fire in Colorado. But I was like, so the fire and inflammation and cancer. And I'm like, I literally think it's like, I don't know. I might have to call this one like the wildfire of cancer with Dr. Nasha. And yeah, I think that'd be amazing.
Cool, man. That was a beauty. Like, it was just such an elegant analogy, and even weaving in the discussions around your friends, like, who don't live the way you live, but man, they appreciate your loving, nurturing them through your way. And that's how we impact the people that are close. That's how we change them.
I got through to them because they actually brought their own beer, and they actually were kind enough to bring me a bottle of scotch. So I was like, well, that was nice. So I somehow got through to them subliminally.
I love it. Hey, and by the way, I wanted to tell your wife to be, in the world she works in. I just had my brunch this morning where I went on this morning hike with my friends. The woman is Petra Sould, who is a famous, like world famous, literally, horse and animal chiropractor.
Yeah.
And the other person, her mentor and my dear friend and mentor, is Jay Comerick, who has a documentary about his work with chiropractic.
How do you spell their last names?
Hers is Sullwold, Sullwold. Sorry about that. OLD. And then Jay Comerick, Komarek. My guess is she knows one or both of them, just knowing what her interests are.
Jay.
Jay, you got it. And he has the most amazing documentary, especially what she's into. Talk about a bawl your eyes out, beautiful story about the power of connecting with horses and chiropractic and the whole concept of health and healing and vitality. You two would groove out on this so beautifully.
And do they do work together, or they're just?
They both live in Colorado. She's in Durango. He's in Crested Butte, and they love
Crested Butte.
It's amazing. My husband.
I've mountain biked all of their trails.
Totally. That was where my husband lived before he and I met in college in Durango.
Nice.
And we get up there a lot, but those guys travel all over the world teaching animal chiropractic.
Well, I would like to get her out of the exchanging your time for money phase and grow her. She's not a public speaker and stuff like that, but I'm like, babe, I was like, your parents own a house in Edwards. They live there half the year. Now they're retired and they live here. Why can't you take a month and just go to Colorado and do business out there? Get licensed in Colorado and start freeing yourself from your practice here a little bit. Because she's got her co-founder doctor. They have an employee doctor. And I was like, let's just build your practice and free you.
She's got to meet these two because they have such big practices. Like, they're both, like, Petra's trying to step out and do other things. They're both moving into teaching. That I could see this being a beautiful, connected relationship.
I would love to get her connected because if she's not already following them, because I realize that she's starting to finally realize, like, I'm such a health and wellness nut. She's going that way. And it's like doing the day-to-day medicine stuff. I think I learned that veterinary actually has a high rate of suicide.
It does.
I had no idea. So it's like some of that it just gets to a point where it just beats you down. So start freeing yourself from some of that. Bring in a new doctor that you can start coaching and developing. Let them handle that stuff, and then you step out and focus on what you actually love, which is the actual natural healing and wellness stuff and her chiropractic care, or she has her employee doctor actually is specialized in massage and acupuncture. So they have acupuncture, massage, chiro, and now shockwave in their practice now.
Well, and actually the third person then, also Durango, put a book out this year. Her name is Carlene Stange, and she's a DVM, and her specialty is like Chinese medicine for animals and homeopathy. And these three people were my teachers, my healers. I was their doctor. I mean, we've all, like, this is kind of the year we've all come out onto a bigger stage of moving exactly in the model that you're talking about for your fiance. And they're all out there changing the world with their books, their work, their documentaries.
I love that.
Yeah. And so I have a feeling she knows probably all.
Do they all have books?
Petra has a book coming. Petra has a book on like pet massage, which is really cute. I think it's an ebook. And then Jay has a documentary. And then Carlene Stange, like strange without a R, has a book that just came out this year. So beautiful. And all three of them live in Colorado. And so it's interesting that you are saying you kind of have this pull to come here a part of the year.
Well, because I study entrepreneurship, and I like the master plan for all of us is to free yourself of the day to day and be able to work from anywhere. Right. Totally. My little, another book that I may write one day is my tagline is the freedom trifecta, is building time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. Once you have those three, the world should be your oyster.
Right. So. And your mitochondria totally respond to that.
Oh yeah. Trust me. Mine are fired up.
Seriously, man. That is so beautiful. I'm not kidding. If she has more questions or wants me to make direct introductions, I will, because all three of these are people.
I'll let her know. She sounds like she just got home. She was out, she was outside, probably on the Appalachian Trail, hiking with her girlfriend and their dogs.
Nice.
So.
Good medicine. Good medicine.
See?
What an absolute joy. I'm glad it was worth the wait, my friend. I hope.
Yes. Thank you so much again for the patience of rescheduling and everything else. I'm like,
it worked out great.
I don't like doing that. I'm such a professional guy. I'm like, I feel so bad, but I'm like,
it worked out great.
In the end, we got to connect. We have a lot more stuff in common than I realized. And now we're going to have a really long, but fun educational episode to put out. And now I can get you connected to Vinny, and you're already a customer, and your level of cancer, that's going to be you and Vinny are going to have a powerful episode.
I can't wait. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And you let me know when this is up and running. I'll launch it everywhere. And if you go down the rabbit hole of keto and cancer or anything else.
Oh, no, that's already a yes. Because
cool.
We touch on it with NSNG with Vinny. He's been on the show at least almost 4 times now. And I bring on his co-founder, Andy Schreiber of the Vitamin and the Coffee Company from time to time. And then I bring on his regular co-host, Anna Vocino, who is powerful book, Eat Happy cookbook.
Oh,
look that up. She suffers from celiac.
Oh, wow.
So her entire book was created because of her lifestyle. And I mean, so she's like, and she says she's a huge supporter of NSNG, and she obviously created that book. And she said, listen, a cookbook does have to have a desserts section. So she does say, listen, there's a little bit of sugar in the book.
Right.
But we have the cookbook. I bought probably 10 copies. I love it. And she and I just did a video coaching session the other night. I was coaching her on using the Trello app for her project management because she's a voiceover professional. So the voiceover for this show that you hear the intro and the outro was her.
I love that. That's so cool.
It's so cool. And she's got a second edition coming out, hopefully by as early as November this year of Eat Happy, because she keeps making new recipes.
I bet.
But I highly recommend that, especially if you're working with customers and clients trying to clean up their diet.
And just looking for inspiration too.
Oh my God. And her tagline, Eat Happy. It's such a great community. And actually, I am in her Eat Happy Cookbook Facebook community.
I'll go look up that up.
I'll just request to add you.
Oh, cool.
Because we're friends now, right?
We're totally friends now.
I've been
stalking you now too.
We're Facebook friends. So. I love it. Let me. So I'm going to do that before I get off the phone here today, and I'll get you connected with her as well. And then once you're approved, it's a great little community. She's just, it's so grassroots. It's getting the right education out there.
Yes. Well, this has been a lot of fun. You've made my Sunday afternoon really fun. I'm gonna be tweeting and I'm gonna this is like true Sunday fun day. I get excited when I have good. This is a Sunday fun day. This is. I love it. And I look at right now. I got to take my dogs for another little walk. It is blizzarding right now. Like you cannot even believe.
I can actually, because that's an external window through a window, right out behind you.
You're kind of like, I'll try and turn you around here if you can see a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got big chunks. You got big snow coming down.
Oh yeah,
That's
we have
big chunks.
They're gorgeous, and it's I love it. I love it. I love
So
it.
jealous.
We've had nothing this year, so it's decided to finally catch up with us.
Now, see, if I was living there right now, I would break out my fat bike and I would go fat bike mountain biking and that stuff.
I was out hiking on a trail this morning with snowshoes because it was like perfect up there. So it was great. And I don't have a fat bike. I keep thinking I want to get that because it's really great on the sand in Baja as well, which we spend a lot of time down there. But yeah, I'm looking at this tomorrow. I think I get to go up to the ski area for half day because I'm looking. It's going to be.
You need to get some runs in. Powder Day. Hello.
And it's going to be Bluebird. It's just to clear off. So those are my favorite. We talked about that. I'm like, that's crack.
I love it. I love it. This has been a powerful episode. I love this.
This is so good. Well, thank you. And I would love to hear what your fiance thinks of those three because I bet she knows them. And if she doesn't, she needs to.
Oh, I would definitely I'll make sure she starts stalking them online now if she's not. I would definitely pass that on. I will definitely be sending you out an intro to Vinny today. He asked me to email him first before I do the warm intro email because he's doing like
I bet
he's averaging like 250,000 downloads a month.
Good Lord.
Yeah, he's really. I mean, he's had his show for like 6 years. He has over 1,000 episodes up now. So
that is insane. That is awesome.
Well, you should definitely follow his podcast. So.
I will definitely. I did not put that connection together with.
So Fitness Confidential. Well, that's his best-selling book. His book Fitness Confidential is all about the whole fitness world and the gym world and the false trainers out there and everything else. And he talks about the story of his cancer in that book too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd recommend it.
One of my side table reads here, so it's perfect.
And it's available on Audible. So
cool, even better in one of my road trips coming up. So thank you. This was a blast. Thank you so much. I'm totally honored, and I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thanks for all you do. So now I got to figure out I can't actually put your book on a watch list in Audible until it's actually released in Audible. So that's fine. But it's okay. I already ordered the physical book. So
thank you.
I try and read the books before I interview people, but we co-host together, but the vacation threw all that off.
No worries. But when you read it, it'll be like, we covered that. We talked about that. I mean, it's going to
be a great connection.
Right on.
All right. Well, please go enjoy your amazing snowstorm. So jealous, and you better get some fresh turns in. So
I will. I'll skeep you out for you, my friend. So it'll be perfect.
And thanks for all you do. You're a powerful influencer, and I love what you're doing. So it's awesome.
Thank you. We'll be in touch, my friend. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye.